recent years, Kia has been trying to completely reinvent its image by introducing cars that are a lot nicer, a lot better equipped, and a lot better looking and drive better than the ones that they have been known for making. And a car that fits that bill perfectly is the 2018 Kia Cadenza. This car is one hell of a step up, and sitting inside this thing, I can't even believe it's a Kia. So what we're going to do in the review today is take a spin in the Cadenza. I'm going to walk you guys through the car, and we're going to talk about why this Cadenza is an extremely nice car that should definitely be on your shopping list if you're looking for a large sedan. Now, large sedans back in the day used to be a status symbol for people that are wealthy. You've worked hard, you've gotten far in your life. I'm going to go get myself a nice large sedan so I can put to the shops in comfort and go on my long road trips with ease. However, nowadays SUVs have been adopted by the market, and pretty much those are used to fit the bill that large sedans used to fill, and you don't very often see these sedans anymore. But Kia is persistently like, our new Cadenza is what everyone needs, and honestly, I agree with them. Let's start with the styling. You look at the front end and you immediately know it's a Kia. You have that grille that Kia's been trying to implement into a lot of their cars to create a similar like family design language throughout the whole lineup, and I think it looks great. It's a really, really cool design with the vertical slats. They have the integrated front camera and the forward collision warning and cruise control box integrated beautifully so you don't even notice them. The headlights are amazing looking. When I first saw them, I was a little bit unsure about the look. I thought they looked a bit too polarizing, but now that I look at them closely and I've really gotten to appreciate them more, I love the look. They're LED headlights. I love the LED running lights that go in there. The way that they form the angle around the turn signal bulb makes it look like a lightning bolt, and I really like their use of chrome on the front end. It's not too flashy, but it's classy. They drew the line perfectly there. It's a nice subtle effect that makes the car look a little bit blingier, but without being overbearing. When you move on to the sides of the Cadenza, you see these awesome 19-inch rims that you get on the limited model we're in now. Base models come with 18s, but you also have these really nice chrome side skirts on the lower end of the car. And then moving around to the back, I love the rear end of this car. It's very, very sharp looking. It's nice and finishes off the look of the car beautifully by not being too overstyled. Nowadays, a lot of guys, they'll be like, oh, I can't top design this car. I have to make it look as aggressive and awesome and imposing as possible. Kia's like, nah, let's just go for a classy look. And they just did a great job in the rear. The lights are nicely sculpted up at an angle into the liftgate, where it's then complemented by this chrome strip that runs along the tops of the light bar and then through the liftgate. It's a really, really nice look. It's sleek and not overstyled, and that's what I really, really appreciate. A lot of car makers overstyle their cars, and this is just nicely aggressive up front, but then sleek and handsome the rest of the way around. So under the hood of the 2018 Kia Cadenza is the same 3.3 liter V6 GDI engine that you saw in the previous generation. However, it makes less horsepower. It's down to only 290 horsepower and 253 pound-feet of torque. However, fuel economy is up. It's now 20 city, 28 highway, which is honestly pretty good. I've been averaging 22 mpg on my test drive, which isn't that bad. This engine sends its power through an all-new 8-speed automatic, which replaces the previous generation's 6-speed automatic, and that definitely helps with the fuel economy numbers. Shifts aren't that quick, but that's what you want in a car like this. They're extremely smooth. They're buttery smooth. You don't notice this car changing gears, and for a luxury sedan, that's exactly what you want. Now, when you put your foot to the floor and mat the gas, you'll get from 0 to 60 in about 6.7 seconds. That's a little bit slower than the previous generation, but only by, I think, by 0.2 of a second. And to be brutally honest, the people buying this car aren't going to care about that. They're going to care that this car is a lot more refined. You have those smoother shifts and you have the better fuel economy. Now, it handles decently well, actually. It's extremely isolated, but the steering has a decent amount of weight to it. It's not too light. That's one thing I really appreciate. While there isn't any road feel whatsoever, it's not an overly light system, which gives you a decent amount of confidence when you're pushing it through the turns. Now, obviously, you're not going to be buying this car because it's a sports sedan. It's front-wheel drive, and it honestly doesn't handle super well in the turns, but I was very surprised by the lack of body roll through corners. It does start to push on the front end a little bit when you hit a turn at a higher rate of speed, but for average driving, there's very little roll. Body motions are well controlled. The ride in this car is also exceptionally good. Whilst it keeps all the body motions in check, it's extremely comfortable. You cruise along and it just soaks up every single bump. I drove on some dirt roads, I drove on some gravel roads, and man, does this thing just isolate you completely from what's going on. Same goes for road noise. I took this thing on the highway, got her up to about 75 miles an hour, whisper quiet. It's almost disillusioning when you're going really, really quick because you're like, I'm doing about 30, right? Look down, oh, no, that's 70. It's ridiculously quiet. At highway speeds, Car and Driver tested it at 68 decibels. That's quite quiet. Now, when you look at the interior of this all-new Cadenza, you will be blown away. I did drive a previous generation Cadenza and was still blown away, but this interior just steps it up a notch. On this limited trim, you have these white quilted Napa leather seats, and I love the dashboard look. You have this ashwood trim with a black dash topper with stitching in it, and the black and white contrast in this interior just creates a really, really upscale, elegant look. It's not too busy in here, just great, awesome, relaxing colors, which I really appreciate. Now, the controls in here, a lot of luxury cars will overwhelm you with a whole array of buttons that you can't fathom, or a touchscreen that is so illogical that it leaves you screaming and begging for mercy. However, Kia hasn't opted for any of that. The center stack here with all the buttons is extremely easy to use. They're big, clear graphics, white on black, and it's very easy and logical. It's laid out well, and it's an easy reach from your driving position, at least for me. Now, when you look at the screen, you have an 8-inch UVO infotainment system, which controls pretty much everything in the car. You have a navigation system, you have audio that sends its sound through a 12-speaker, 630-watt Harman Kardon audio system, which sounds awesome. It's really, really good. The bass is nice and punchy, and it's very clear. A lot of the times when you get a high-powered audio system like this, like Bose systems, I feel like it's all bass and power and not a whole lot of clarity, where this system is actually really, really good in those regards. The screen itself, very easy to use. The response times are pretty good, almost as good as an iPad, and I like how you can go into the menus and scroll through everything the same way you would on an iPad. That's really, really nice. Now let's talk about some of the features you get. You have a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats in the front, heated seats in the rear. You have all sorts of active safety. You have blind spot, adaptive cruise control, forward collision, all sorts of stuff that you're going to want. Radar guided cruise control. And you can see all that stuff in your heads-up display. It's currently showing that I have a speed limit of 30, and if I were to hypothetically, let's say I was about to hit something, it would show me that I was about to hit something in the screen, and I could also go in and see, like, oh, I'm going to merge lanes. Oh, if there's someone in my blind spot, it'll show you that in the heads-up display too. Really, really cool feature there. You also have 14-way adjustable seats on this fully loaded limited XSL trim, and they're stupid comfortable, and I mean stupid comfortable. They are a little bit firm, but I love how you have adjustable lumbar and thigh support. Please, automakers, put adjustable thigh support in your cars, because in this Cadenza, I could extend the bottom cushion, and man, do I have enough thigh support. A lot of the times when I'm on a long cruise, my right leg will start to get tired. Not in this car. I do wish the bolstering was a bit more aggressive, though, because when you're going through turns, you can kind of slide around like that, but it's really not that bad at all. Talking about the overall look of the interior some more, I really like how there are these chrome accents that run through the dash topper, which look really sleek and elegant. But one thing I will say is this piano black trim that goes in contrast to the ash wood trim, that stuff is very easy to scratch, and it shows all sorts of dirt and dust. This car has 46 miles on it, and it's already getting swirl marks in that black trim, and that's something I would be a little bit worried about. Another really cool feature I love about the interior of this Cadenza is the camera system. You push this view button here, and you automatically on the 8-inch screen get a 360-degree surround view camera, which is super handy if you're trying to park. You have a front bumper camera to make sure you don't scrape your bumper or anything, and you have 5 different options for what type of camera views you can get. It's uncanny. There's another view here to see the lines on the side of the road to make sure you don't curb your wheels or anything. It's really, really nice. And that's just awesome to have in a car like this. You don't want to be scratching this thing up or hitting anything when you're parking. I also love the way that the 8-inch touchscreen is perfectly integrated into the dashboard design. It doesn't pop out or sit on top of it like an out-of-place little display that was put on as an afterthought. It's very well integrated and designed in to look like it was meant to be there from the get-go. Very, very good looking, very, very simple and very elegant. So another really cool feature are the drive modes. I love the fact that you get 4 different drive modes. You have Comfort, Eco, Sport, and Smart. Now, Comfort is basically your everyday driving mode, keeps everything nice and easy to use. When you go into Eco, it basically dulls up your throttle response, and I would never use that mode ever unless you're on a really long highway trip. Put it into Sport, it weightens up the steering a lot, which doesn't really change the way that it drives, to be honest with you. And you can use paddles that are mounted on the steering wheel. Now the paddles, yeah, they're decently slow to use. I mean, if you pull them, it'll change gears within about a second of when you pull it, which is fine. But to be honest, the only reason they're putting these paddles on the car is to say that they have them, because everyone else is doing it. No one that buys this car is gonna be firing off red line gear changes, boom, boom, boom. No one's doing that in a 290 horsepower Kia Cadenza luxury sedan. And this car doesn't want to be treated like that, to be honest. It just feels cumbersome and just feels like it's an extra effort that you don't want to put into when you're having to pull these paddles. I'd rather just stick it in drive and enjoy the luxury and serenity that the Cadenza has to offer. You also have a really nice panoramic moonroof, and in the back seats, headroom's actually pretty good. So is legroom, knee room, and footroom. A lot of the times when you have these panoramic sunroofs, you cut off the headroom in the back seat. Not the case in the Cadenza. It's extremely comfortable back there, and like I said earlier, you have those heated seats. Another thing I love about the powertrain of the Cadenza is just how quiet that V6 engine is. A lot of the times when you hit the gas in another car, you can hear the gruffness of the engine come through, but in this car, it's so well isolated. It's kind of ridiculous how little you actually hear from the engine in this car. Moving on to practicality, you do have a 16 cubic foot trunk, and that's pretty on par with most sedans of this class, but you do have a pass-through in the rear seat, so if you want to carry skis or anything or access the trunk while you're driving, you can do that. It's a really nice feature that I wish more sedans had. I get in a lot of sedans and you don't have that pass-through. That can be very annoying. Another thing I love about the interior that adds to the classy look is the clock in the center of the control stack here. Now, it's not a Breitling or a Rolex or anything that you might find in a super fancy car. I actually don't know if they do Rolexes in fancy cars, but it still looks really nice and classy. Who cares if it's not a name brand watch? It still looks great. Whilst the Cadenza is not super fast, it's buttery smooth to drive, especially around town and on the highway. If I could take a car cross country, I would totally take this if I had the option. Of course, if I had the option, I mean, I'd probably go for a Porsche 911 or something, but if I had to take a luxury sedan under 50 grand, this would be up on that list for sure, because it's so easy and so comfortable and so relaxing. When it comes to talking about the personality of the Cadenza, I must say it doesn't have a whole lot of personality, but that kind of works with this car. This isn't a car that you're looking to bond and have that connection with. This is the type of car that hops in and basically just wipes your brow. It's just like, come in, settle into your Napa leather seats. Let me cool your bottom with my ventilated seats. Let me emulsify you in sound with my 12-speaker Harman Kardon audio system and pamper you with a panoramic moonroof and only 68 decibels of road noise. That's what the Cadenza is all about, and that is what gives it a very, very nice laid-back personality. As always, check out Motor Minds, see our next video, subscribe, and we hope you tune in. Before I leave you guys, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Orrisman Chantilly Kia. I absolutely love that dealership. They've been giving me great cars to review. First the Stinger, now a fully loaded Cadenza. Who knows what I'm going to get next. If you're in the market for a Kia and you're in the DC metro area, definitely go check them out. They'll cut you a great deal. Very good guys there. Now, I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. I loved making it for you. As always, I get to drive these awesome cars and produce this content. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad you guys tune in and watch our content. Definitely subscribe if you're interested. Check out our other videos. Hit that notification button so you're updated on our next video, and tune in for sure. We'll be here next time.